What message would you give your mum for Mother's Day?
I think something we always say to each other is that we'd do anything to change our situations, but we wouldn't change that our mums dying brought us together. So I would say thank you for giving me Eloise and the most amazing friends that I've met through MDA as a result of our mums dying.
Danny and Eloise, our new besties. Welcome to the In-Depth and In Focus podcast.
Thank you for having us.
We've seen a lot of each other recently. We're super excited to have you. You are the co-founders of Motherless Daughters Australia, or MDA. You're a national not-for-profit and a grief support network for women, girls and families who've lost their mums and share the same pain. We're big believers in, if you're meant to meet people, you will. And we believe our paths were meant to cross. Ty and I put out a content giveaway at the end of last year for businesses or not-for-profits creating social impact with goals to help the community, and you guys submitted your application. One of your goals, for instance, was changing the landscape around what grief should look like and around bereavement leave, because at the moment it's 2 days, is it?
Yeah.
Which is obviously ridiculous. So
Laughable, yep.
We'll get into the amazing work you're doing soon, but we've recently launched our campaign, which is called 1,000 Words, it's coincided with Mother Loss Awareness Week and your pre-Mother's Day high tea. We're keen to chat about that. But firstly, we'd love to kick it off by just acknowledging your mums, Rosa and Janet. Can you tell us a little bit about your mums?
Yeah, this is catching me off guard. My mum was just a real mum. She was Italian, is, and she was just a really good mum. I was very close to her. My brother and I never really had to second guess or question how much she loved us or how much she cared about us. And yeah, life's pretty shitty without her. I notice her absence so much in just the everyday. The everyday's hard, and the big times of year is also hard. But the everyday, I just miss her for her advice, or just to walk in at home and smell her cooking, or she was just such a good mum.
What about you, Eloise? Tell us about Janet.
So it's been 21 years for me. So I was, pretty much a child when she died. So she was extremely busy, worked full time, studied as well, was always doing craft projects, really into football as well. We'd often go to the football, watch Richmond, and that was the thing that we did together.
Very similar to you too, Danny, right? Collingwood, so there's a bit of a rivalry.
Yeah, Richmond Collingwood rivalry.
And so how did you guys meet?
I was 23 when Mum died, and so I'd just come out of uni, and all my friends were, having the time of their lives, and Mum had been sick for 2 years, and so I didn't really have much in common with them anymore. My life had changed, and I was looking after my younger brother. He was 14 at the time, and I just wanted to connect with someone who got it, someone my age who got it, and I didn't know anyone. So I put a post on Facebook saying, is anyone out there in Melbourne whose mum had died? And I had a really strict criteria. Dad's a tradie, and I've obviously got a brother, so I wanted this person to also be similar. And luckily, Eloise got back to me pretty much straight away. And then we chatted for a bit, and then we met in a cafe. And a little bit of the funny story that we always tell is that I didn't know if she was going to be a weirdo, so I just made up plans.
Like a date?
Yeah, I had to leave at I've only got a half an hour or an hour, then I've got something else on. Because I just wasn't sure, what if? And anyway, she was great. And we stayed there for another 6 hours, and you've since told me you had the same.
Yeah, I also had imaginary plans for after doing that too. I've only got half an hour, sorry. Yeah.
That's good. You guys didn't get catfish each other then. So.
Nah, but it was so good, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like
it was very refreshing.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable, I think. I remember sitting there thinking, wow, this person is literally saying everything I've thought for the last 10 years, and just extremely validating.
And it didn't matter that I was 23 when Mum died and Eloise was 13, like that age gap in terms of loss, it really hasn't had an impact on our connection or how we relate to each other. So, I mean, there's certainly different things that our mums have missed and haven't been here for. But, yeah, I think we'd choose to be friends regardless.
Yeah.
It's that power of validation. I think us as humans, we're just seeking validation in everything we do. And I guess, there's a large part of your community that feels like they're not being validated. So then what was that, what sparked the idea for you to start MDA? Like how did it come about?
Well, I think I went looking for something, like I went looking for specific support because I knew I just wanted that specific support and there was nothing. And that's why I resorted to trying to find someone on social media. And then, when we connected, it was nothing like I ever thought it would be. Like it exceeded what I thought meeting her would be and give me. I said to her, like, there's nothing out there for people like us. Like, there's just nothing. So what can we do? Like, can we do something? And we didn't know where to start. We were we were just winging it.
Yeah, really naive
I think
and just...
the first thing we did
no
was...
idea.
Yeah, I think we set up a bank account.
Yeah.
We just thought that's all we'll need.
And my mum,
Bendigo Bank.
Yeah, off we go. My mum worked for Medibank as well, and we just thought, oh, well, my mum worked there, so let's go and try and hit them up and see if they'll jump on board and support us, not knowing a thing of what we were doing or what we needed to even go down that process. So we've certainly learnt a lot along the way, that's for sure.
Yeah, like we learnt we needed a board of directors and that, a board has a chair. And we were like, what the hell is that? Like a chair's something you sit on.
Yes.
What is a board?
Yeah.
What
That's
is
what
a
they
chair?
do.
What do they do?
They sit on chairs
Yeah.
But we just had to learn really quickly and it took a while. Like we met in 2013 and then we dropped the ball. Well, I was off dead in the gutter for a while. I just dropped everything and Eloise kind of kept it going, and then we started up again like around 2016, and then we were a registered charity and everything in place in 2018.
And for all the viewers out there, all the listeners who may be learning about you for the first time, what do you offer? Like, what does MDA? What do they stand for, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, we're the leading organisation in Australia focused on the impact of mother loss and supporting women, girls and children who experience it. And we support them through a range of online and in-person initiatives, so events, fact sheets, programs, Friends in Grief, which is like Tinder but for grief mates, an online support group, and just space and platform to share in a non-judgmental environment and really just to normalise and validate. And end goal, like change the landscape of grief and, bereavement leave, improve that, stop the pathologising of grief and just making grief a really normal, natural thing that we don't batter an eyelid in terms of judging someone or imposing a timeline.
Mm. That's really funny how you say imposing that timeline. In today's society, obviously today's society is a big part of why we have these issues with grief in terms of how we perceive it. Can you give us some examples of issues with grief that you've experienced in the past?
I think for me, no one would talk about my mum for probably until I met Danielle, actually. You were probably the first person that I could really talk about my mum with. And so as part of that, my grief was really internalized because I just felt like I had to keep it all in. I felt like I was the only one struggling, and really suffered because of that. So just as a society, we're just terrible with grief and loss, and no one wants to talk about it. You know, people go to the funeral and then 2 days later you're just like, oh, you'll be right.
I think too, like at the age of 23, you think you're a bit of a know-it-all, and you think you're a grown-up, but you're not. You're still a little shit and you don't know anything. So therefore your friends are also young and dumb and immature, and you don't have life experience at that age. So no one's equipped with the emotional maturity at that age to know how to nurture and embrace your grief. And so people come out and say things not from a place to hurt you, but just from a place of not being aware. And inadvertently those things hurt you. So I had some friends say 6 months later, oh, but isn't it getting easier? And I was like, well, no, and it's never going to get easier because it's more time since you've seen them. And every year there's her birthday and her anniversary and my birthday, our birthdays that are a day apart. We're a day apart,
Oh, wow.
same year,
What are the
same everything.
chances? Meant to be.
Yeah.
Divine
Yeah.
timing, yeah.
But just we're never going to get it better at something as a society if we don't talk about it. And we are just really ill-equipped at grief and grieving, and our culture is terrible for that.
And we've had the pleasure of getting to know a lot of women from your community throughout this project, and unfortunately they've all experienced the same thing. There's a lot of misconceptions around grief and talking about it. Many of them mention that they've felt that they've had to sugarcoat their grief and almost put on a mask when sharing about mother loss. Can you guys relate to that?
Yeah, definitely. My mum died of a heart attack, and pretty much I think because she died so suddenly, just no one knew how to handle the situation. And so, as I mentioned, no one talked about her, and it just creates a feeling of isolation, and like you've just got to act not necessarily happy all the time, but just like you've got it together. Yeah.
But why? Like, why do you think we have to do that? What is it that...
Because everyone else is so uncomfortable with hard emotions like sadness, grief. They don't know. I mean, this is where all those stupid fix-it platitudes come from, you know? Like, she wouldn't want you to be sad. Like, she'd want you to be happy. And I think I don't give a fuck what she'd want. I'm upset. And stop trying to invalidate that. Like, I'm sure she'd understand that we're upset that she's not here.
Yeah.
And she would also understand that it's not something you can just push aside and be happy just because everyone else out there is uncomfortable with us, you know, crying or missing her on an ongoing basis.
Why are people so shit at talking about grief?
Because they're shit. I don't know.
They are shit. I think people are scared of upsetting one another. I know that's certainly been my experience. It's like, well, if you mention your mum, oh, you're just going to break down in tears, which
I can't handle that.
Yeah, but I
Too
also
hard
think that
basket.
that's
Yeah.
fine as well. Like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with someone crying? Like,
Yeah.
it's a big person that's died. They're
Yeah.
allowed to miss them
Yeah.
and get upset. And just people are uncomfortable with sitting with that.
Yeah. I think too, like as an organisation, something we're really passionate about is removing the excuse of good intentions. Oh, but they were well-meaning, or but they had good intentions. Like sometimes it doesn't matter what someone's intentions are, it's still hurtful. And I think, you know, we're in 2024. We can do better. And why wouldn't we do better? There's a world of information at our fingertips. If you genuinely want to support your friends and if you genuinely care about someone who is grieving, do some research because there's plenty of info out there and we're constantly pushing out what to say and what not to say. So the well-meaning and the good intent is getting old. Do better. Do better. It's not on us as grievers to educate you or to make you feel more comfortable in a situation because we're uncomfortable every day in a world where we can't talk about our mums or grieving because there's no space for it.
And on that note, what don't you say to someone who's grieving?
She's in a better place. I don't like she'd want you to be happy.
Yeah.
Because I just think I don't really care what she'd want. She's not here.
Yeah.
It doesn't really fix anything.
Yeah. Time heals. I'm still waiting for time to heal. Are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, time heals. She's in a better place. She wouldn't want you to be sad. God had better plans for your mum, or we don't know why God took her, but he needed her.
Or just I'd die if my mum died.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
probably one of my
I
favourites.
can't imagine.
Yeah.
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 Bit of salt in the wound.
Yeah. Or, yeah, like I don't know what I'd do without my mum. Like, great. You know, like they're just not very aware like stop. People need to really stop rather than just trying to fill
Or fix.
a gap or
Yeah.
fix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop and think about what you're saying.
Yeah. And listen
Yes.
rather. What are some helpful tips for people that maybe want to support someone that's grieving?
I think just acknowledge how shit it is. Like just, just an acknowledgement of how hard it is and that they're a safe person for you to talk to. If you like actually say, I'm here if you want to talk and I'll just listen, or do you just want to vent, or do you want me to try and offer some suggestions? Like give them the opportunity to tell you what they want. But I guess just jump in and have a good old whinge about it with it.
Yeah. Or even to say, do you want me to sit with you? Or like
Yeah.
for people that aren't ready to talk about their mums, or I'm here for you, but actually mean it. Don't just say it, and show up for someone as well.
Or tell me
Yeah.
about your mum.
Yeah.
What do you miss about her?
Yeah.
What would she say in this situation? Or what do you think your mum would say right now? Or include her.
Yeah.
Like just because they're dead, it doesn't mean they don't still have an influence or a way of being included.
Yeah.
I think that's why, your model of MDA just works so well, because obviously everyone's been through the same thing. It's not about fixing it. It's just about listening and celebrating your mums. We actually had the pleasure of coming to your pre-Mother's Day high tea recently, and just the feeling in the room was electric. We watched some of the women come up at this beginning, and it was obviously very, very daunting, but just to see everyone's demeanour change shortly after, and everyone was just embracing each other and talking about their mums and celebrating their mums, it was really special. What's that like for you guys to see that impact that you're creating?
It's so surreal, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's only just sort of starting to sink in now. I think especially for me, because I had 10 years where I didn't know anyone who'd lost their mum, and I had no one and was just so alone and isolated. And then meeting Danielle was just everything that I'd wished for the previous 10 years. So these events are just literally kind of what we were like meeting for the first time, but on a bigger scale. So it's quite special, yeah.
But interestingly, it's really nice to see and observe what happens, because you can see connections being made like right in front of you, and you can see that the relief on people's face, and you do see that change like straight away. And in a way, like it's so nice for us to watch and see. But in saying that, we'll actually never truly know what that's like, because we've never been, like, we're facilitating that. So we actually, like, whilst we're pretty sure we know how they feel from our first meeting, we actually can never truly say we know what that's like for them to come, and, we're reliant on their feedback and their experiences. So I guess that's one thing that I wish we could experience.
I was just going to say, in my experience of watching the room,
Yeah.
I would say it's like your experience that you guys had when you first met and that first coffee date you went for, but like electrified.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
amplified on another level.
Massive scale.
So,
Yeah.
and it's all thanks to you guys, because you had that experience and you thought, geez, there's a great need for this. And then you've decided to facilitate it for others, but then put it on steroids. because
Yeah,
there's so much
yeah.
more to it.
We felt very privileged coming to your MDA pre-Mother's Day high tea because there's no boys allowed usually.
Yeah, no,
But
bad.
Made an exception.
We were
Yeah.
there to help launch the campaign. We want to point out the fact that like you guys probably don't give yourself enough credit for all that you do because you actually handpick every single woman and put them onto the tables of other women who are either similar age or they lost their mum in a similar circumstance or at a similar age. All the women we spoke to throughout the pre-production of this project have said how amazing that was, that they were sat at a table with a bunch of other women who had all lost their mum the same way. For example, Cachette had never met anyone who'd lost their mum to suicide until she came to your high tea, and every one of those women on our table had also lost their mum to suicide. So it's pretty unbelievable what you guys are doing. I know it takes you a long time to do that, but it's just the result of that and how validating it is for everyone is really amazing.
It's powerful. That experience.
Yeah.
Like saying you guys never had that, but you've more than gifted it for someone. You know, it's amazing what you guys are doing.
Incredible. So you need to take that time to acknowledge yourselves as well, and pinch yourself and be like, look what we did.
Give yourself that pat on the back.
Because it's bloody amazing. Honestly, it's really special.
I guess that's something we just don't see. Like you were able to, you hear that from others, because we don't even really hear that from others, do we? Like
No.
occasionally we do, but I think it's one of those things that people go and talk about amongst themselves, and not often we're lucky enough to hear that kind of feedback. But yeah, and as we get bigger, I don't think that element is ever something we can automate or remove, because it makes the event. Like if you take that away, people probably aren't going to have a great time, because
Well, they'll probably still have a good time, but I mean,
Yeah.
the connections
a
won't be as
powerful.
yes.
That connection is unreal. I mean, I can't even I've never experienced something like that, but I can try and imagine. And you're sitting there saying, I wish I could experience it, but they're probably sitting there thinking, fuck, Eloise and Danny created this. Like they'd be thinking, how proud would I be if I were them? Like you should probably, I don't want to say what you should and shouldn't do, but I'd say like give yourselves a pat on the back because you deserve it.
Yeah,
like
100%. Yeah, even just reading all the comments like on your feed from the campaign as well, and like so many women thanking you guys for everything that you do.
Yeah.
It is really special, and just like you guys, there's something so powerful in connection, human connection, based on shared pain.
Yeah.
And it's in a group setting and everyone's being vulnerable and opening up and sharing. It's like a domino effect, and people feel more comfortable and validated.
Yeah, validation, that's like,
Yes. It's
that's
empowering.
the word.
Yeah.
That is the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then chuck a few champers in there and Bob's
Yeah.
your uncle.
Yeah.
We just wanted to acknowledge you guys on that because it's really special. So,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
yeah, Mother's Day is coming up now, and obviously that's a hard time and very triggering for a lot of motherless daughters. But we actually didn't know the origin of Mother's Day before we met
meeting
you
you.
guys. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it was started by a woman in America, a daughter whose mum had died. So it was, founded to honour her late mum. And she had a memorial. Well, she died on the second Sunday in May. And so the following year she had a memorial on the second Sunday in May to mark that time. And she invited everyone to wear white carnations. And she just wanted mums to be honoured and celebrated in general. And so then, more states picked it up, and then it became this political agenda, and politicians used it to their advantage, and retailers upped their prices, and florists did the same thing. And her name's Anna Jarvis, and Anna became really annoyed at what was happening because it was losing its true meaning, and it was becoming a commercialised frenzy rather than actually taking the time out to just honour what the true origin was. And she tried to have the day abolished, and had lost a lot of money in lawsuits and legal cases against it. But yeah, I guess mums are important though. They should be celebrated, but it is really, really nice for women, daughters and sons really, who have lost their mum, to know that was the history of Mother's Day, and that they have ownership of the day just as much or more so than anyone else, because we are the ones that can honour it for what it really was, and not get caught up in all of that commercialisation.
So I just want to try something quickly. So for all the listeners listening in, I'd like you to close your eyes, think of your mum or any parent that you might have, because there might be someone else that's never ever had a mum, that is really important to you. And think of the love and the caring that you've got from birth all the way up to where you are now. And imagine that they're gone tomorrow. And you've got Mother's Day coming up. And assuming Mother's Day was your special person day, because I don't want to label mothers now, because me labeling mothers is the exact same issue of why we're here to, like, in this position anyway. So imagine Sunday is that special person day for you, and that person, you've just lost them tomorrow. What would you feel like right now? And that's exactly what everyone in this community is going through right now. So when they go out on the street tomorrow and they see, buy your mum this for Mother's Day and do that, or if you, like, you heard something on the radio, do you want to just share that?
Yeah, well, Ty and I have noticed so much now since meeting you girls, how much Mother's Day things are just plastered everywhere. And I heard an ad on the radio the other day, and the first thing they said was, if you have a mum or know a mum, and I was like, what? I was like, are they legit? But we just realised, like, people don't take any of these things into account. Like, it's so
Oblivious.
Oblivious.
Everyone is oblivious
and
to
that's
it.
why the education piece is so important, to get that out there, because there's businesses creating these ads, and there's so many hoops that they have to go through before they're out there, and a lot of them are insensitive. Even for the people listening, the four of us were out yesterday. Some of our campaign creative is out at Westfield shopping centres, and it was, a lot of them were coupled with, Mother's Day ads on the digital screen, and then there was the acknowledgement for motherless daughters to keep celebrating that. So that was a special moment to see the contrast between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you walk past all the storefronts and it's, spoil your mum this Mother's Day, or treat mum, and we can't. And it's not just a few of us, like, it's 3.9 million women. And for every daughter, there's also a son. Like, there's, approximately 4 million guys out there who also can't do it. And to have such blanket wording with, an assumption that everyone can do that is pretty ignorant.
Yeah.
It's really ignorant, especially in a society where we think we're getting better at acknowledging and including everything else. We do a bloody shit job around Mother's Day. And we're slowly seeing, like, corporates offering opt-out in their Mother's Day marketing emails. But if you miss that particular email and you don't opt out, they just come in thick and fast. And it's great that they're doing that, but then women can opt out, or anyone can opt out, but then it's go and sit in the corner over there until we've finished this, and then we'll bring you back in. There's no, follow up with, here's some support, or here's something you can do, or here's something we'd like to do for you. And I think
validation. Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, again, they're left lonely and they're acknowledged in one way, but then go back to feeling lonely and isolated.
And it doesn't have to be like that.
No.
Because it's just creating that inclusive environment for everyone. But I guess it's that recognition is what society needs. Yeah. So people need to talk about it more in order to get it to change.
Yes.
And that's what your community does very well.
Yeah.
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 So that's the retail space. Now, why are mums that have passed rarely acknowledged on Mother's Day?
I think it's just too sad for people to think about. They don't want to think about the missing gaps in people's families. They don't want to think about the sadness that's associated with this massive loss that people have. And they just want these happy, glossy family stories.
It wouldn't make them any money. You know, it comes back to that commercialisation of it. What can we, I guess, exploit here the most?
And that's a sad part, isn't it?
Appealing to the
in big
hip pocket.
corporates,
Yeah.
it's easier for them to market to someone who has a mum, where it makes it more challenging to go the other way.
That's right.
And I think too, it also just comes back to the lack of education. Like, they probably don't even know how to acknowledge or how to validate. And I don't know, I just don't have much empathy or sympathy for that approach or attitude, really. I always say, always come back to, if you do better, like if you know better, you can do better, and have some initiative and find out how to do better. Because it's a huge portion of their customer database. Like, it's not a little percentage.
100%.
And what happens when you are given that space?
So many women talk about this in our community. Like, every single time they get a promo email and it says, "We understand Mother's Day can be a difficult time," they shout that from the rooftops. Like, they will be the most loyal customer forever and ever and ever. So if only they knew the impact, long-term impact and validation that had on people, because you feel seen and heard.
Yeah.
Instead of ignored and dismissed and not considered.
So if there are any big corporates listening, I mean, think of it, 3.9 million women. I mean, that's not even accounting men. I mean, men is that's a whole different ball game altogether, talking about grief. But yeah, let's focus on the women first, I think, and get that right. What message would you give your mum for Mother's Day?
First of all, happy Mother's Day. I think I'd want her to know that her 3 children turned out really okay. We survived without her when we thought we couldn't. She's got 4 beautiful grandchildren that she would love to meet. And that, we miss her very much.
I think something we always say to each other is that we'd do anything to change our situations, but we wouldn't change that our mums dying brought us together. So I would say thank you for giving me Eloise and the most amazing friends that I've met through MDA as a result of our mums dying. And that, much the same, like, we're okay. It's shit, but we're okay. And that Dean's he's the best, and she would be so proud of him.
And for those listening, Dean is Danny's brother.
Yeah.
He's a legend.
He's a super legend.
Thank you for sharing that, guys. That was really beautiful. You guys are an inspiration. We love talking about this, but we want to talk about the campaign because we're very excited. 1,000 Words, it went live this week to coincide with Mother Loss Awareness Week. Obviously, that's intentional, so it can run through Mother's Day as well to get the awareness out there that all mums should be celebrated, not just those that are alive. We've been working on this campaign with you guys for the last few months, and it's been so lovely to work so closely and see the work that you do firsthand through the stories of the women we've met. There are a few objectives of the campaign. So obviously we want to change the landscape around what grief should look like, because it's not a one size fits all. Myself and Ty, we've had our own journeys with grief over the years. So we understand that it's shit and it's different for everyone. A lot of the sort of common themes when we were chatting to all the women from MDA was that they're not given that space to acknowledge their mums. And as a result of that, it's very hard to keep those memories alive. So that's sort of where the thinking behind the concept came from, in terms of the empty picture frames, you know, as because they haven't been allowed that space to keep the memories alive. So, but you know, by talking about their mums and acknowledging them, it starts to spark those memories and keep the fire burning and keep them alive. And it's all just about, the piece is just about education,
Yeah, that's
educating
it.
people, ask the questions, listen to their stories.
Hold the space.
Don't
Yeah.
treat them like they're an alien, you know,
Yeah.
like just fucking
Listen.
be better, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Listen. Yeah, you don't have to fix, just listen. So the campaign's been live for a few days now. How has it been received from your community?
Oh, they've absolutely loved it.
Loved it. I think they get so much validation from it.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
They're seen, they're heard. It's also really great because for those that aren't great at perhaps speaking up or communicating what they need from people, they've been able to share the campaign that does the talking for them. So others who see them sharing that, you know, inadvertently just know, oh, maybe this is what that person needs without them actually having to verbalise or say it. But I think the response has just been incredible. Like, people are just commenting all the time saying, wow, or, you know, this is exactly what it's like, or you've nailed it. You've nailed it.
Yeah.
And I think just last night we posted about, you know, the billboards in Westfield, and we've put on our story, and we've had, you know, lots of comments on that. But the messages, private messages we've received is just, they're just so grateful. Like, they're so grateful that someone is finally recognising at this time of year in the huge shopping centres, like in the retail sector, that not everyone's got a mum to be out there buying for. Like, and to have that recognition is, you know, we say mother loss is so much more than just grief. The impact is profound. And the research that we see, and, you know, the impact of mother loss affecting women in ways that are, you know, like anxiety, depression, social isolation, loneliness. We really do believe that MDA will prevent that impact if they're brought into a community and there's connection and they can talk about it. And this campaign is so important for that, because they'll then not self-doubt, or they won't second-guess their reaction. They'll know they're normal, because there's a big campaign out there about how normal you are. And hopefully that those that don't know about us but find out about us because of the campaign will stop listening to the people in their networks telling them that something's wrong, or you need to go see a psychologist, or you need to be on antidepressants. Like, hopefully it will empower them to say, well, no, actually, I don't. You just need to stop being uncomfortable with my grief.
I think one of the powerful things that Ruby says in the video is how grief isn't an illness. Like, you don't need to be medicated for it. You just need to talk about it and sit with it and share it.
And medication is just a Band-Aid fix anyway, and it's just
Exactly.
making it easy for that next person, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and it just perpetuates that notion in society that you need to be fixed, you need to get on with it, you're not over it in a time frame that we want you to be. We're uncomfortable. What can we do to fix you?
that's funny, because it's just about normalizing those conversations. So what do you think, what do you think we needed to do as a society to embrace normalizing these conversations?
I think it all comes back to asking about people's mums, asking how they feel, and just being okay with what they say back to you. Like, people have lost their mums, they're not going to be happy straight away, or they're also allowed to miss this huge figure.
And is there anything else in terms of, like, at the moment, you guys do a fair bit of education. Do you guys educate people who have not lost their mums on the topic?
Yeah.
How do you
We've got,
educate them?
yeah, we have a range of fact sheets on our website, but we've also really started to pick up our advocacy work. So last year we had a parliamentary breakfast at Canberra during federal budget week, and quite a lot of the ministers and politicians attended. And that first one was to initially just introduce MDA to Parliament and talk to them about some of the issues that not only women in our community are facing, but grievers in general. Obviously, we have a focus on motherless daughters, but bringing to their attention bereavement leave, that feeds in. These 2 days of bereavement leave feeds in to that idea. You'll be right. Get on with it. You'll be fine. 2 days. 2 days you haven't even, the person's just died. You haven't even had the funeral. People are being forced to take annual leave or other sorts of leave or unpaid leave. But really just that's a long-term goal, but just this is what that 2 days allowance is telling people, and it's not helping us with changes in perception or education. And then, we really want to educate the private and public medical sectors. Stop prescribing antidepressants to people who are grieving when there is no pre or coexisting mental health illness. Stop doing that. Stop trying to, we know that unless someone's functionality is impacted, and if you don't want to get out of bed and have a shower for the first bloody month, who gives a shit? That would be a really normal response in our opinion. I mean, if that's still happening in a few years, then maybe you need some counselling or a really good psychologist trained in grief and loss. But antidepressants for grief is no.
Just numbs it.
Yes.
Yeah, just masks it.
And there's women in our community who were prescribed antidepressants when it first happened and are now 20, 30 years down the track and are only just dealing with their grief because they were numbed. Hopefully all these small advocacy pieces and even just our campaigns and, reaching out to corporates and retailers will slowly all play a part in a bigger picture and hopefully a different approach in years to come.
Yeah, keep that movement going. Yeah.
And for the women and girls and communities out there that are listening to this and want to get involved in MDA, how can they do that?
Our website, motherlessdaughters.com.au, and we're always looking for volunteers to help out if they want to, or our programs, Friends in Grief. We have dinners, our high teas. There's always opportunities to connect with others, or even just to advocate for MDA and yourself within your workplace or your own communities. We've got lots of resources that can help with that.
And grief in general can be quite a morbid subject, but MDA in general is the complete opposite. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that? Because, someone that might be interested in helping out may not realize just how amazing it is to be a helper. And would you like to also talk about the relationships you have with the people that are currently helping you, the supporters?
Yeah, so at MDA we try to put a different perspective on grief. We know that it can often be handled in a really clinical way. So we try and do things that will engage with people, do things that they would normally do, but find that sense of community. So the dinners that we have, our meet and grief dinners, where it's literally just coming and meeting people who are just like them.
Our high tea is often described as a party. And some people get a bit uncomfortable when we say that because they're like, I don't want to come and celebrate that I have a dead mum. But that's not what they're celebrating. It's very, very hard to describe until you're there. And I actually had a conversation with one of the girls who attended yesterday, and she's like, oh my God, I want it to be next year already. I can't wait. And I said to her, how do we better, not market, but better describe what this event is like? And she's like, I don't think you can. I think you've done as much as you can. People just need to come and see that it's this uplifting, even our socials. Our socials will never ever be for the corporates that fund us or donors. Our socials will always be for our community. And we've got such high engagement because we say the things that they're all thinking but they're too scared to say, or we will put it out there. And I think one thing that we do really well is a balance of humour and seriousness and you had a shit relationship with your mum, oh, we've got something for that. And if you had a good relationship with your mum, we've got something for that. And everything we do is informed by our community. Like, we're just two people, and we learned really fast that we really can't, at the start we had to kind of impose our views and things like that. But having now a community of over 25,000, we invite them to inform and participate in everything. So they're always reflected in everything we put out. So it is always for our community, but we're not down in the dumps. The girls that volunteer at the events now, they're our very best friends. We have a ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. They fill a void.
So special. Girls, we've absolutely loved spending time with you and getting to know you over the last few months, and we're super proud of the campaign that we've all produced. 1,000 Words is now live across both of our socials and website, but we just want to acknowledge the amazing work that you girls are doing. It's been an absolute pleasure to see and to get to know you better, and you guys are friends for life now. So we want to say thank you and congrats on all the work you're doing. It's so special, and it's been amazing to be a part of.
Yeah, that's a big thank you to both of you for submitting, because Vinny and I, we're very passionate about the work we do, and creating that sort of space for people to have that voice to help change the way things are currently running within the system we live in. So if it wasn't for you guys to submit your application, we would have never met, and we wouldn't have never built this beautiful campaign together. And the amount of influence, it's so rewarding to see so many people positively impacted by the work we do. I mean, that's just, I can't put words to it, even though, 1,000 words. And but yeah, and a very, very special thank you to Dean.
Yeah.
Dean, so for those of you who don't know, Dean actually gave the tick of approval because Danny didn't want to spend too much time on putting in an application that wasn't going to go anywhere. So thank you, Dean. We love you, Dean.
Yeah, we love you, Dean.
Actually, Dean's the one made this whole thing happen.
Thank you, Dean.
If it wasn't for Dean, we wouldn't be here.
Well, I don't know what good, videography and filming looks like. So I said, have a look at these guys. Are they any good?
We hope so.
No, amazing. We just want to say thank you too. We've loved working with you. You've been so kind and compassionate to the girls that have participated, and the impact that you've had is just, it's going to go on and on, because we just know that this is going to be shared all the time, and it will be, something that people watch constantly, and you've just done the most beautiful job of putting it all together. We're so grateful.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's some more beautiful work.
Yeah.
Cuddle.
That's it.
Not a little.